Y'all, this is a little spicy, but I have thoughts. If you have been your party's nominee for 12 years in a row, 4 years ago and 4 years before that and 4 years before that, and you cannot grow your movement pretty much at all and can't pursue any successful strategy, and all you do is show up once every 4 years to speak to people who are justifiably pissed off, but you're just showing up once every 4 years to do that, you're not serious. You're not to me, it does not read as authentic. It reads as predatory. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it.
Jill here. I'm about to board, but very quickly, I just wanted to thank AOC Pelosi so very much for her very authentic concern about growing green power. Clearly, AOC is the attack dog du jour, and the Democrats are running scared, and they should be, because who wants to support a genocide? Who wants to vote for a genocide? And if there's anything that's predatory here, it's saying that your candidate is working tirelessly for a ceasefire when actually they are actively funding and arming genocide and actually refusing to even consider an arms embargo, which would bring the genocide to a screeching halt. AOC, who's supposed to be in leadership of the Democratic Party, it's amazing if she doesn't know about the anti-democratic tactics and strategies that the Democratic Party uses to crush and silence political opposition. They've been hiring an army of lawyers to throw competitors like me off the ballot. They've been hiring infiltrators and saboteurs and publicly posting job advertisements for those positions. They've been hijacking our public funding in order to keep us off the ballot. And they actually impersonated the Greens to throw us off the ballot in 22 in the Senate race for North Carolina, for example. How is that not fraud and election interference? Also, what's predatory here is stealing the signature issue of the Greens. Our Green New Deal launched in 2010, appropriated by AOC as her signature issue in 2018 without a mention of where it came from. So bottom line is, Americans want more choices. We are that choice. We are the one choice, which is anti-war, anti-genocide, pro-worker, climate emergency. Check us out, JillStein2024.com. Thanks so much.
Normally, when I play clips of something, I start off by giving an introduction or some preamble related to the story. But the Stein AOC feud, response, whatever you want to call it, just kind of left me with a sour taste towards even trying to make a presentation. AOC's assessment of Stein, and really just this whole feud, is part of it. It's so symbolic of most things that are wrong with American politics, right? So let's break down what she said. She tries to state that the Green Party has failed to grow itself after having Stein as their nominee 3 elections in a row. This is either a lie or her just not knowing what she's talking about. Stein was not the nominee in 2020. That was Hallie Hawkins. Just put that aside. She mentions that if your movement is not able to grow, it's like it's predatory because you're taking people's money and whatever. And I can't help but feel like she's taking what's the proper phrase for it? Throwing stones while living in a glass house. Like, maybe someone needs to remind AOC that her squad is shrinking. Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, both of whom I liked, lost their primaries. And a big part of what led them to lose their primaries was the influence of pro-Israeli lobbies and groups that gave millions of dollars to their opponents, which makes it all the more sad that AOC is just incapable of having a more affirmative position on this issue, at least one that actually sticks out and goes somewhere. Now, Green parties, not doing that great. But as Stein points out in her video, that's not because they've all just been sitting on their hands and waiting every 4 years to run for president. They have had multiple issues as a result of the Democratic Party, the undemocratic Democratic Party, and other attempts to just mess them up, to just screw them up. And what's sad is that AOC, right? So she like co-opted the Green New Deal, didn't say who it's from, and I don't have that big of a problem with it, because I think with most of these proposals, as long as you support them, I really couldn't care less where you get it from. But what's really sad about this, right, is that, like, think about this. As things are right now, good change, but as things are right now, the Israeli-Hamas war is shaping up to be the most notable and influential military conflict with regard to a presidential election since the Iraq War in 2008. People are protesting. They're taking a pretty decisive stand on, we're sick of funding a genocide. And Harris, who again wants to be the American president, the leader of all 50 states, in spite of wanting to be the leader, cannot demonstrate any assertiveness or bravery either to the pro-Israeli government donors that are giving her a lot of money, or the pro-Palestine protesters that are on these college campuses. And so she has to kind of skirt in the middle. The way that the Israeli civilians were treated was really bad, but at the same time, we have to also recognize that Palestinians deserve to live in peace and dignity. It's just these nebulous crap, and it's problematic because she wants young people to vote for her, but young people are not supporting this particular genocide at a minimum. They're not backing it. And because she's afraid to just take an assertive stance in one direction or another, she's going to possibly end up losing their vote, and even more possibly the election overall. And when that happens, you're going to see that when or if that happens, if Trump wins, and you're going to see Jill Stein become the new Ralph Nader, where they blame her and but you have to ask yourself, what exactly is, this is what gets me, right? Stein, in all likelihood, is probably going to get one or two, some single digit number that is closer to 0 than 10 of the popular vote. She's not going to win any counties. She's not going to win a single state. And I don't say that to insult her. I don't say that to make fun of her. She is probably, of any of the candidates running, she's probably the one that I'd say I'd like the most and think would make the best president. I think President Stein would usher in a legitimate resurgence of America. I'm not being facetious at all when I say that she is the best candidate this election cycle, bar none. If we had a scale of 1 to 10, she'd be a 10, Harris would be a 5, Trump would be a 2. So this is not about me insulting her, but it's like, think about this. Most Americans do not know who Stein is. Most Americans are not going to vote for Stein. And the Democrats are so fragile. They're so afraid of any factor that could cause them to lose votes, that instead of doing something that could ensure they get more votes, you're going to get more votes by taking the pro-Palestine position of calling out this genocide. They would rather take this lady who most Americans have never heard of, most Americans are not going to vote for, and frame her as the true hidden hand villain that is going to get Trump back in the White House. And here you have AOC, who's supposed to be a progressive icon. She's the most famous congressional progressive besides Bernie, unfortunately. I always like Ro Khanna more, but I digress. But here's this girl, this lady, woman, whatever you want to call her, who's had multiple terms in the House, came in as a Sanders acolyte, and has the nerve to sit here and talk about how she ran as a third party when she did not, has the nerve to sit here and claim that Stein has run for president 3 times in a row when she has not, had the nerve to get on that DNC stage, and I covered it, and say that Harris is working tirelessly to end this conflict when we haven't seen one shred of proof she's doing anything but running her mouth and giving middle of the road answers on a thing that people would very much like for her to take an affirmative stance on. It just disgusts me, because with American progressives, if we lived in a true actual movement of people who were united and were just as sick of this stuff as they claim to be, American progressives, whether they're Democrats or Greens, would get together, or even the People's Party with Cornel West, and formulate a plan of how they are going to get policy goals accomplished. You would see AOC going to meet with Stein. Hey, look, I can't endorse you, but I do agree with a lot of the stuff you're saying. I just think I have a better chance influencing Harris if she wins by endorsing her, whatever behind the scenes machinations go on. But you would see them say, hey, look, after this election, let's talk about getting more ballot access for Greens. Let's talk about ranked choice voting. But you don't see that, because AOC's biggest concern in attacking this lady that, again, most Americans have never heard of, probably will never hear of, and are certainly not going to vote for to be president in the next 2 months. Her solution, instead of actually addressing any of the problems that are causing people to turn away from Harris and the Democrats in general, is to take that person who's not even going to get 5% of the vote and make them seem like they are the end all be all for the Democrats not being able to win this time if they lose. I feel really bad for third party candidates, because you run most people are not famous. Most politicians are not well known, besides whatever district, state they're from. And even that can be, trying. So it's like you already have these built-in disadvantages, and you have to contend with the two major parties, if one or the other, or sometimes both, trying to mess you up, stop you from being an option for people to even be able to have if they're dissatisfied with either the person with the D or the R by their name. And then you have this congresswoman, one of the most famous incumbents in office in America, period, go on her stupid Instagram live and trash talk you and pretend like all the stuff you've done has not been helpful or beneficial to the beliefs that you have. So look, I said before, I don't know who's going to win this election. I lean towards Harris winning. I could be wrong. But if Harris loses and Stein gets, like, let's say 5% of the vote, which I don't think she will. I think she'll get less than that. But if Harris loses, and we can mathematically deduce that if all the people that voted for Stein have voted for Harris, then she would have won, she deserves it. Because you took one of the most important issues of this year, which is the Israeli-Hamas conflict. You refused to take an affirmative stance on it. You got this girl that's supposedly a progressive insulting the one person who's running that's actually trying to take a peaceful stance on this matter that is in the appeal of most of the electorate. And you're surprised that people are sick of you. So it's if the Democrats lose, and it's found that their handling or their lack of willingness to stand with the non-genocide people against the Israeli government is a factor, they deserve it.